Hi, Gleb here. This game is basically a yoga lesson. You may think that it's a shooter, but it's not. Here you will be tricked into exercising, because I doubt that you do this every day. SUPERHOT VR truly recreates the Matrix experience. You can easily dodge bullets because times move only when you move. So when you stay still, you activate your superpowers. Enemies almost freeze, and you can literally see bullets flying by you while you dodge them like Neo. In general, SUPERHOT VR is similar to the SUPERHOT game released earlier. The VR version inherits a lot. The visual style, weapon types, and story built around a hacker and unknown programs. If you played the first game, you will easily recognize everything and have a sense of déjà vu. Note that this is an old game, released in 2016. If you want to play it, you can easily find this game in every store for $25. Though I would strongly recommend the console version, in my case for Oculus 2. I also tried to play it on my PC like I do with Half-Life Alyx, and I had a terrible experience with random crashes. This game is really physically active, so no sitting or one-handed experience is possible, sorry. So let's dive together into SUPERHOT VR and see what it can offer.
You have served me well.
The game greets us with a hacker-style intro. Then you grab a gun and start shooting enemies. You will immediately notice the graphic style, which is really simple and minimalistic. All the bad guys look the same, just a set of humanoid-looking polygons. The surroundings are more detailed, but all in white, so you can't really see them. The guns and other interactable objects are also simple colored and low poly. As you might have guessed, the colors represent functions. Surroundings are grayish, enemies are red, and interactable objects are black. In all levels, we will be fixed in one place. After beating a set of bad guys, we will jump to a new location, but still remain on the same level. This prevents motion sickness, but also really narrows your possibilities to move, or might prevent you from picking up distant object. The controls are very simple. You can grab a weapon near you and use it. You can also throw any black object at enemies. A glass will just stun them, but a shuriken can pretty much kill. Guns are just point and shoot. There are no scopes, so you are mostly firing by chance. Also, the bullets are very slow, so you need to make significant corrections for enemy movement. Guns have a limited number of bullets and no reloading. When you finish all your rounds, the gun basically turns itself into a brick. In terms of types, there are pistols, Uzis, and sawed-off shotguns. The last one is really powerful, but can only shoot twice. And I can't not mention that the bullet limitation is only for you. The red guys can shoot all day long, so there is no chance to wait in a cover. Note that throwing things is not optional. In some levels you will be given no gun. Throwing is tricky. You will need some time to get used to it. Even then you will probably miss most of the time. However, to balance this difficulty, we are given a new superpower. We can destroy our enemies Darth Vader style by crushing them with our own hands in a distance. The simple colored, low poly style actually came from laziness and speed development. Let me tell you about the development story, because it's quite interesting. This game was actually started at a game jam, an event where people tried to create a video game from scratch. In the case of SUPERHOT, the game jam lasted 1 week and was focused on FPS games. The first demo version that the SUPERHOT team created during this week already looked very familiar. The colors, red dudes, and of course the SUPERHOT message. Later they managed to raise some money with Kickstarter and spent 2 years on production of the SUPERHOT game. The VR sequel came out only 9 months later, which I think means that they developed it in parallel. This game is a great example of a true indie project. A couple of guys from Poland spent a week on a prototype, found community that helped them with funding, created a world-renowned franchise, and yet they remain a truly independent studio, not like those who sell themselves to Microsoft. Actually, this game is more of a puzzle game, rather than a shooter. The levels are arranged in a specific order. Due to VR limitations, the developers decided to restrict your ability to move. There are no random options, so if you want, you can memorize each level. That's why I call it a puzzle game. Each level has an ideally optimized solution. You can think of it as a right order to kill enemies. Some of them will attack you immediately, and some have to run to a weapon. Sometimes there is a guy with a shotgun, and after he kills you several times, you will try to shoot him even before he appears. The comparison with the Matrix movies that I made earlier is not without reason. You see, there is an achievement in the game that is, say, the chosen one. So they were obviously inspired by the movies at some point. I would say that there are different styles you can play this game, but going Matrix style is my favorite. When you finish the main game, you will be granted with a new game mode. These include 2 types of speedrun challenges, one where the in-game time counts, and the other based on a real time. There is a Don't Die challenge. Basically, you need to finish the whole game without dying. The Hardcore challenge is slightly harder in every aspect. Enemies move faster, guns have only one shot, and you can't use them to block bullets more than once. There is also an endless mode, which I found quite boring. You stand in one spot and kill constantly spawning enemies. These 2 floppy disks basically allow you to replay the whole game, or to share it with a friend, so they can see the proper beginning, as you did. I want to mention the technical problems with this game. Firstly, I played this game on my PC, connecting my headset via Airlink. This setup worked perfectly with Half-Life Alyx, and I also adjusted some things following advices from internet. However, this game crashed my PC every time I tried to exit it or when I just removed my headset for a short break. Also, sometimes it displayed a terrible splash screen. I'm lucky that I don't have epilepsy. Then I decided to switch from an AMD video card to an Nvidia one, because my setup has both. The Nvidia card is less powerful, but the game stopped crashed so frequently. However, the FPS was still not perfect, sometimes it dropped a little. And I don't think it's a hardware limitation problem. Then I tried Oculus 2 version. This one is definitely better. Some patch history shows a 120 FPS update, and the game was really smooth all the time. The graphics are really the same. I think this white box-like style isn't very demanding. So if you have a standalone headset like Oculus or Pica, I would recommend avoiding the PC version. But if you really want to suffer, I can't stop you. By the way, there is a menu and it has glitches for some reason. You don't really need the menu, because I can't remember any setting that you can change. Maybe that's why it wasn't optimized. And the sounds are also not perfect. They are plain and repeating. So sound design is definitely not a selling point of this game. Of course, keep in mind that this is an old game, released 8 years ago. The graphic style in this case works well for preservation. I can't really tell why a game like this can't be made in 2024, especially considering that this is an indie game. Do I like this game? Kinda, yeah. Of all of the SUPERHOT games, this one is probably my favorite. I really like how physically active this game is. After my first session, I felt like I had walked out of a gym. My feet started shaking a little and I became really sweaty and thirsty. I was surprised at how hard it felt the first time, but I think this is because you are using balancing muscles a lot, which are not commonly used in everyday life. All this Neo-style dodging really needs special set of muscles. I would say this is an obvious advantage of any VR game. It definitely makes them healthier for you as a player, comparing to lying on a sofa and playing consoles. So, the next video will be in experimental format. We will compare the standard FPS version of SUPERHOT and the VR one. Like, subscribe, stay strong. The Polar Citizen out.